Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 34. All right, welcome back, everybody. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's going on, bro? Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see. Listen, just to keep continuity going here, we sometimes do like to bank these episodes and record them back to back. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, my eye is a little bit irritated today. Rubbed some shit into my contact. It got dirty or something. So it's on fire. I got a Terminator eye going on right now. So yeah. So apologies if you guys see my bloodshot red eye. It's not that I'm too stoned like Jay over there. I
It's a new
wish I was.
procedure that they did to him. Yeah, he's
I
got a
wish.
bionic eye.
But welcome back, everybody. Just figured I'd get that out of the way. If this is your first time checking out our show, please subscribe to the channel. This is the Game of Thrones show where we break down and talk about, discuss every episode by episode of Game of Thrones, all the way from the start, all the way to the end. And we're going to be continuing to talk about House of the Dragon, most likely, if that ever comes back on the air, as well as the
Fuck.
that. Because this is Jay's first time watching Game of Thrones, guys. He got hooked on House of the Dragon. This is his first time ever checking it out. We figured, what the hell, I've never rewatched the show after the first time I've watched it, so I'm in no way like a very experienced viewer of the show either. Just watched it once the first time around when it was on the air. So yeah, it's always makes for great conversation. We're having a good time doing it, and make sure to tune in every week, guys. We drop these Thursdays at 8 p.m. We got a whole playlist of 30 something other episodes there you guys can check out at this moment. So yeah, make sure to catch up. And if you're watching Game of Thrones for the first time or were ever curious about it, maybe give it a shot, check it out, and come back and hear us talk about it, because always great discussions. Guests as well have come on. All most of season 3 we had Christina on as a guest, and we have another surprise guest coming on at the end of season 4, a big super fan of Game of Thrones, so stay tuned for that, guys. We'll announce it the episode prior to it happening. Jay, this
Yes,
episode,
sir.
this episode, season 4, episode 4, Oathkeeper. What did you think of this one? There's a lot to cover in this episode, so let's not spend too much time talking here, but what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, there was a lot, man, and you finally get to see some interesting stuff. So, it it it, it was short. They were short scenes. I felt like they were shorter in this one for sure, but there was a lot more to take in. There's a few new things that are going on that we get to see what's happening and unfold now.
Yeah.
But I I don't know where to. Yeah, there's some great scenes actually. So I don't know where it unfolds from here. All right, because this is some weird shit going on at the end too, right? So
There's a lot
uh,
of things that they're alluding to in this episode. There's a lot of things that have yet come to pass, like things that are going to be happening later on down the road. I would say that they're really setting up in this episode. Like, this is a lot of setup happening right now. But again, we're entering the middle of the season. This is kind of usually where this stuff occurs. But yeah, some big shit goes on that they kind of just throw out in small scenes, to Jay's point, especially at the end of the episode, which we'll get to. But yeah, the name of this episode, Oathkeeper, probably one of the best scenes of this episode, if not the best scene, I thought. Again, a pretty short one, I would say, all in all, compared to everything else that happened in this episode. But it was a really good scene, and we'll get to that. And, we just talked about the character that's in that scene, how horrible he was last episode, and how we should be despising this person. But then, he turns around and he's a good fucking person this episode. So it's, Jamie is who I'm referring to, everybody, if you've yet to figure that one out. But it really takes you back, right? Especially when you're kind of trying to record these things and watch these things in chunks. I don't know where you don't know where to stand with this guy at the end of this. You're just like, I don't know, man. Like this guy's
I
a
don't know what he's like and what he's doing, what he's fucking, what side he's on. I don't know where he's going. I don't know. Like it's crazy, man. It's actually a very interesting character to follow.
well, I'm glad. I'm glad you say that just
I
because
don't
like
know. Was he ever in anything else either, or was he another typecasted character?
oh, I've seen him in other things. Yeah, I've seen him in other things, but I don't think he plays a good guy in the other things that I've seen him play in either, for that matter. So, I think he was a voice in Shrek, if I'm not mistaken. I also, and he was a piece of shit in that too. If I
But
got
that's just his voice, so that's okay, right?
yeah, he kind of is able to do that pompous fucking ass type voice. You know what I mean? Like of someone of stature and like royalty or something like that, right? And I think he was in another thing as a like a cheater of some sort. I think in some rom com. I think I seen him one time too. But so no, not anything that he's ever that he's ever a good person in. I feel like I've seen, but then again, he has moments where I feel he's a good person in this show. So it's really there's still a lot more to go. So I think it's interesting. I'm glad to hear what your thoughts are on him because as I previously mentioned, even prior to the events of last episode where he basically raped his sister, just want to throw that out there. I like this character a lot. I like the journey that this character takes, right? So that all being said, I like complex characters. I like characters that are not great people sometimes too, right? I mean, there's a lot of shows where we celebrated and got behind and rallied for bad people. Look at Breaking Bad, look at The Sopranos, right? Like this is not one, like I mean, I don't know if they did some pretty horrible things, those guys, but I don't know if they went to the lengths that this guy did, obviously, because of just the wrong stuff he's done in terms of like the sister thing. But anyways, but yeah, it's there, it's interesting. I feel like these complex characters where you don't know where you stand with them, Jay, are much more interesting than people that are just one way. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
but then they end up like walking into the into the open or just walking away out of the distance at the end of the season series, and it's like it just kills the whole flow of like where did it whatever happened to that person, like when a series ends,
yeah,
whatever am I gonna watch Jamie walking into the distance with no missing two arms or something and one leg and him
dude,
just being that guy.
stay tuned. You'll have to watch the journey that he's on this series. Like I said, he's one of my favorite character arcs of the whole show. So
Yeah.
take that as what you will, right? Anyways, okay, let's start off here. And here I am.
But I don't know. I don't know if I should take your opinion very well either, because you didn't like Joffrey, but you didn't tell me how quick they fucking killed him off.
I'm not
I
going to
mean,
tell
it's
you. That's the point of you enjoying the show. Why would I spoil it for
that's
you?
what I'm saying. I mean,
Stay
you're not gonna
tuned.
tell me, so we know.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. So I'm Meister Stats here. I'm gonna direct us through the episode, everybody. So here we go.
I forgot about my seer.
Yeah,
My
you forgot about your Sarah JT. You might have to change your name.
yeah.
I forgot too. I just threw it on for this episode. All right. So we start off with where we left off with Daenerys there. Masande teaches Grey Worm how to speak the common tongue at the start of this episode. And this is a very revealing scene. He kind of reveals some of his past. All that he remembers since his castration is that he was born in the Summer Islands. And then while he's kind of opening up to her about this, Masande also reveals that she can remember that she saw Nath burning as she was taken as a slave for Slaver's Bay. So it looks like not only is Daenerys, freeing these people from slavery, a lot of
Mm.
them now are actually from different backgrounds or kind of connecting with one another as a result of their of their past, of both having to suffer through slavery at some point of their lives. And, I don't know. In this scene, it seems like these two are getting a little chummy to me. I don't know about you, Jay. What do you think of this opening scene with these two?
Yeah, of course. It seems like they are getting a little close and see what the hell is going on with Grey Worm and that's the one, the right that right hand chick. What's her name?
The Sunday.
Asande, Miss Melisande or whatever, right? Miss Sande or what? Miss Sande, right? Not the other. Melisande is the other one.
Sandra is the
Melisandra is
witch.
the other
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And their names have to be so difficult and so close and similar. Like that. Fuck off, man. So
Daenerys commands him and several Unsullied to infiltrate Marine disguised as slaves and convince the slaves to rise against their masters.
yeah,
Uh,
so she said it's time to go. Let's go, man. She's get them. It's time. She has a mission for them.
uh, Basically, they visit a slave pen, and while trying to convince them, one of the young slaves is already trying to convince his other fellow men in chains to fight. Where we left off the last episode, like they threw those symbolic kind of chains that she has broken from the people that follow her currently, like the Unsullied and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
letting.
it kind of threw me off because when they went back in, she sent them in, they had their fucking chains on again around the neck. So it kind of threw me off when I
Well, it
first
wasn't
seen it, right?
theirs that she was throwing at them. It was people that she's
No,
already.
but when they went in through the tunnel system, when Grey Worm went in through the tunnel system, he had one on his neck too, right? Just in case they got caught. I don't know if you noticed
Oh,
that. Yeah,
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 they were disguising themselves as slaves to
yeah,
get into the city. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because
So it threw me off for a second, right?
to her credit, she recognizes that they have to also
Blended.
rise up against their masters in order for them to be able to be liberated. Basically, you know what I mean? So like Grey Worm's there trying to convince them and let them know that, like, what she has done for him and how he was once a slave, and that's not the case anymore.
I
And
always wonder because she has all this talking about how she wants them to liberate themselves and how to do that. Is it gonna come to her credit, or is it gonna help her, or is it gonna fuck her in the end? You know what
right,
I mean? Because if they see that maybe she's not a nice person later on, I don't know where she's going, where her character's going yet, but
she's
we'll have to see, right? Like
got quite
that's
the journey ahead of her too, right? I mean,
yeah, right. I mean,
she's still building up her armies at this point, right? So I mean,
yeah, she's just the beginning of she's like in the beginning of the game. You know what I mean? You gotta
yeah.
build stuff up.
But when they're doing this, the older slaves argue that they have no means to oppose their masters, who have squashed every previous slave rebellion. Grey Worm arrives and tells them that they can only free themselves, and then presents them with weapons. The uprising is
That
a
was nice.
resounding success, as they cut to a scene with them basically, running through the city and kind of getting back at their masters. And with the city hers, Daenerys orders the crucifixion of 163 of the so-called great masters in retaliation for the 163 slave children that we saw crucified along the road into Marine that was previously shown in another episode that she made note of. If you recall, she wanted to see every single child that was on the post along the way, even though, she
Yeah,
was,
she set herself up like that.
yeah.
That was crazy, eh? Like she just fucking. That's when she whipped out again her penis and just said, "Here you go, guys. There's my sword. Let's see what you got." But there was a part there when they had come in and met the slaves there, right? When they had come in through the thing, and they said that wasn't that word that they used that margulas or whatever. Well, did we ever realize what that was? What that meant? Did we ever come up with what
I
that
think,
meant? Because I
I,
think it did say it there because it
I
said
think,
something about all men must die.
yeah, we looked it up. It's a phrase that they put. I remember we talked about it in the episode that was called that.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. So yeah, it just it I remember him saying it in the thing here, right? In the kind of when he went to go talk to the slaves in their language or whatever,
yeah, yeah.
right? So I remember reading it. I
And
actually remember something from reading.
there you go. So Barristan
I,
basically in this moment, he tries to like tell her like maybe you shouldn't be so vengeful in this moment. And this is where Daenerys shows her Targaryenness
and whips it
and
out.
very bloodthirsty and is like, no, this is what we're doing. Like she does not listen or take his advice in this moment. And she's like, no, 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 we're fucking crucifying all these motherfuckers.
Yeah, she said it straight up. She goes, she even said it. What I will answer injustice with justice, right?
Yeah.
Is what she refers to it as,
Yeah, and as
right?
a result,
Yeah.
she has now conquered all three of the cities on Slaver's Bay, guys. All three cities that were previously filled with slaves in on Slaver's Bay, hence the name. She is now liberate. She basically liberated all these people in all three of these places that we come across along the way, and
Yeah.
she's grown her army as a result.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are, the breaker of
She's
chains.
liberated and conquered, basically.
Yep. Yep.
Right, those three places. So she's not fucking around.
Great opening scene, I gotta say though. What a way to start the episode, right?
Yeah,
Really good.
very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like her scenes, every episode that she is in, are not wasted. Like, every scene I feel like we get of Daenerys, there's very few small scenes where she does it's not like, hey, let's go hang out with this character a bit, like some of the other characters. Hers are always like big actions, like big moves, like things that are happening always with Daenerys scenes. And then you usually only get one an episode, right? If that. So,
And it
like,
wasn't really like a big like fighting scene, if anything. Like they kind of glanced over that, like that all that blood and guts, and then like all that fighting to liberate themselves, and basically just went to the hanging them on the cross, and
yeah.
like, it was basically, yeah, that's basically showing that they won, right?
Yeah. No, really good stuff. And then we'll cut to the next scene here back in King's Landing. Jay, if you want to bring up a great quotable here, if you you want to put up you talk to my brother this way, or if you want to put you talk to my brother. This is Jay's new search engine in order to bring up.
Yeah, this is cool, man. Like only one. When you talk to my brother this way,
Okay, so we'll get to that. So, anyways, King's Landing. During their sword training, Bronn implores Jaime to visit his brother Tyrion in the dungeon, saying that Tyrion named Jaime his champion in the Eyrie because he knew Jaime would
that
ride
was in Jamaica, eh?
Eyrie, day and night to fight for him. That's why I don't think it's Eyrie. It's probably Erie. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Jay. Why don't we exchange the quotes here with you be Jaime. You talk to my brother this way. Go ahead.
Talk to my brother this way.
All the time. He got used to it. Do you think this is you now?
Do you think he did it?
No. Oh, he hated the little twat, sure. But who didn't? And poison's not his style or murder. You want to know for sure? Why don't you ask him? You haven't been to see him yet, eh?
We're done for today.
Your brother ever tell you how I came into his service?
You stood for him in his. You stood for him in his trial by combat at the Erie.
I,
I,
but only when Lady Erin demanded the trial takes place that day. You were his first choice. He named you for his champion because he knew you would ride day and night to come fight for him. You gonna fight for him now? Great scene between Bronn and him, right? Bronn, and that's why, again, despite their interesting relationship, let's say him and Tyrion, Bronn basically pushes him in the direction of Jaime, guilting him, basically saying like, you love your brother, but yet you're letting him fucking rot in the jail cell there, and you know what I mean? Like and you haven't even visited him yet, right? Yeah, he convinces Jaime that he didn't kill Joffrey. Tyrion notes that even irrefutable evidence and a confession by the real perpetrator would satisfy Cersei. She's out for his blood. The trial is even worse because at least one judge has always wanted him dead, Jaime tells Tyrion. That Cersei offers a knighthood to whoever captures Sansa Stark. Tyrion insists that Sansa had nothing to do with the murder, despite having the best motive. So, yeah, really good stuff there. And here, why don't we spot off a couple more quotes here from this scene between Tyrion and Jaime. And it was nice to see Jaime actually there for his brother and believing in him in this moment, because basically everyone else is against him at this time. But yeah, as soon as it starts
this is a
off,
good one. Yeah.
you want to be Jaime? Go ahead.
Which one? But which one? What's the opening line?
Tell you the truth.
To tell you the truth, it isn't so bad. Four walls, pot to piss in. That was, and you're gonna be Jaime now, right?
No, that was Jaime, what you just said right there.
Pot to piss in, yeah.
Jaime's basically going to visit Tyrion in this moment, and after all of Jaime's fucking captivity over the last season, he's trying to convince him that, this isn't too bad, right?
Okay, I was, yeah.
Yeah, I was chained to a wooden post covered in my own shit for months. And then Tyrion's like, is that supposed to make me feel better?
Maybe a bit. Sorry I didn't come sooner. It's complicated.
So how is our sister?
He says first, he goes, don't go there. How do you think?
Go ahead. How do you think? Her son? Yeah.
Her son died in her arms.
Her son?
Don't. That's what he says. Don't. You know what's coming, huh?
There you go. So we'll have some of these better prepared next time, guys. This is the first time we've tried these quotes back and forth. Jay wasn't prepared for it, admittingly. So yeah, you're doing a good
Yeah,
job there, man. Yeah, these are
it
some of these.
just
When you find these scenes that you like during the episode, Jay, where there's two people chatting, just make note of them, and then we'll pull it out and we'll talk back and forth to each other like a bunch of losers.
I'll remember to type. Make sure I type out the first few words.
Yeah,
So
there
it
you go.
pops up.
All right. So anyway, so that's that scene. Next scene, we got Sansa accuses Baelish of having Joffrey Baratheon murdered. At first, Baelish evades the accusation, pointing out that he has been away for weeks and that Tyrion could be the perpetrator. Sansa defends Tyrion and with certainty that he is innocent, and also concludes that Baelish is far too smart to trust a drunk like Sir Dantos to be his accomplice. Impressed with her
It
instincts,
is true, eh?
yeah, impressed with her instincts, Baelish admits that Tyrion is in fact innocent and reveals Sansa's own part in Joffrey's death. Now, this was mentioned last episode, but not really
If you paid
touched on.
attention.
Yeah, they haven't really gone into it further till now. But she mentions the fact that the necklace that she was wearing that Sir Dantos gave her was in fact the murder weapon, and that someone slipped a stone, which was poisonous, from the necklace into Joffrey's wine. Now, think back on the wedding episode, and the reveal that will come shortly in this episode shouldn't be much of a surprise if you were really paying attention during the wedding episode. And I kind of hinted at it, Jay, when we talked about it without trying to give it away, who the other person that was working along with Baelish was in that scene. But, it's one of those things that knowing now how it went down, if you go back and look for the clues or some of the characters' faces or where they're situated during that moment, you could easily see who it was in that scene, actually. And I did test this out for myself. So it's
Really,
not
eh?
that much of a stretch. Yeah, we're going to get to who that is later on, guys. But, anyways, the Lannisters have done so much for Baelish, including granting him the seat of Harrenhal. Therefore, Sansa is confused as to why he would do this. Baelish confesses that while his friendship with the Lannisters was fruitful, it is best to keep enemies confused, and his absence from the wedding means that he will never be suspected. Very smart move on his part. And as I mentioned, that was what Tyrion's point was previously. Why would I fucking be there if I was planning this murder, right? And that
Yeah.
was basically the way he was looking at it. Sansa declares that she doesn't entirely believe him. He's too clever to poison a king just to cause confusion. And this is when he confirms that Joffrey was simply too volatile a king to have him as an ally and more of a hindrance than a benefit. Joffrey's death was something that his new friends wanted very much, and a gift is always helpful to help a new friendship grow strong. So very interesting scene. Baelish basically just spills the beans on this whole operation, basically saying that he is halfway responsible for actually getting all this set in motion. What did you think about this reveal, Jay? Did you suspect Baelish this whole time, or was he like
Well,
this thing from your mind on this one?
when I seen it in the last episode when he was there, I mean, I figured he had something to do with it, right? Because he's always using things to his advantage. I just didn't know at first. It didn't clue in right away about the like you said about what it was and who it could be. But I have a feeling in this one you kind of get who it is really, and still not so many words, but basically, really, I mean, you're getting it right.
Yeah,
And I think it's kind of cool the way she kind of the person actually brings it out in that way.
yeah, Sansa's actually very smart in this scene. Like she
Well, she's like, should be a detective for fuck's sakes.
That's what I mean. She puts two and two together, and even while she's explaining it out loud, her deduction on figuring out, like, she's like, yeah, like a regular Sherlock Holmes in this scene. Like, she's like, well, no, this doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? And then, like, the way that she keeps getting Baelish to admit to this stuff, this is
Mm,
where I feel like Baelish fucked up in this scene, though, is that he's very quick to admit this to her. Now, the only reason I think this is what I wrote down as a note. The only reason I think Baelish would do something like this with her is because he has a hots for her, as he did her mother,
mm.
and that secretly he wants to be with her. And going to
He
marry.
gives her those kind of looks too, right? But I
Yeah,
also look at him like a perv too because he's
yeah,
the whorehouse, right?
yeah. That's what I mean. I don't think normally Baelish plays it very close to the chest, as is evidenced by this plan that he's
Hmm.
admitting to. But it's almost not believable because he's almost like a bad villain, Jay, in like those movies where they tell the person their whole fucking plan. Like, yeah, it was me. I'm the one, and I did all this, and then like, like against James Bond, where then he uses it to his advantage, like knowing now, like, or like Batman in the old fucking Batman show, right? Like, oh yeah, it was me this whole time, and like who, like it's like a villain that reveals his fucking, his plan too early, right? Like it's just, it seems odd that even with her guessing correctly, other than him being impressed by her figuring this out, why would he openly admit to this so
Well,
quickly?
he just he uses something good. He goes, "I'd rather risk everything to get what I want." And then she says, "And what do
Does
you
say
want?"
that.
And he said everything.
And he says men spend their whole life not risking enough, and then they
And
end
he
up
he doesn't
dying.
he risks everything all the time to get everything. So you're not really losing at the end. You're
Right.
staying really balanced pretty much.
The quote
You're,
is, so many men, they risk so little. They spend their lives avoiding danger, and then they die.
yeah, but that's kind of like in life right now too.
Yep. Yeah.
In different ways. I mean, not we just don't do what we should, and then we fucking end up dying. We go fucking life goes right past us quick, right? It's so true.
Hmm.
And back then, it must have been life must have been so much shorter.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Especially who they are in this world, right? Like
Yeah,
this guy is playing it. He's playing the Game of Thrones, right? So it's you could wake
it's
one
very
wrong,
interesting.
you're dead. Yeah, it's a great line, great scene as
Mm.
well. I really like Bela. He's
But
a
he
good.
had that creeper look, man. I know that whole scene. I watched it. He's looking at her. He has that look, bro. He has
Again,
that I want to bang you look.
yeah, again, I don't like Baelish, but I think he's a good character. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to like him, but I think he's a very, like, him and Varys are very interesting fucking characters. You can't trust them.
Very smart, but
Very smart, very cunning.
apparently she's smarter.
She's proven that she is smart, smarter than we give her credit
She's
for.
her mother's daughter, right?
Yeah. So, all right. So that's that scene there.
I'd like to see what happens with her, man. To really be honest with you, because
You're
that's
gonna find
something.
out.
There's got to be something going interesting with her too, right?
Yeah, you're gonna find
So
out. So, anyways, from that scene, we cut right over to the next scene, which basically explains the other piece of the puzzle here. Or actually, not in this scene. It's later on, I believe that it does.
yeah,
He basically say this is with Marjorie and Lady Olenna, who tells her that she's about to leave for Highgarden. She mentions the new and prospective marriage between Marjorie and the new king, Tommen, and she insists that Cersei will turn Tommen against Marjorie by the time they marry if Marjorie doesn't act fast. Fortunately, Cersei is well distracted by accusing her innocent brother of the murder of her son. Marjorie insists that Olenna cannot be certain of Tyrion's innocence, but Olenna states that Tyrion certainly is innocent and confesses that she would never let Marjorie marry that beast. And yeah, so this is the scene where she reveals the fact that he alludes to the fact that she is
not so many words.
responsible. Yeah. And like Marjorie's very taken aback by this because she's still kind of distraught as to what happened, the events of all this happening. But, Olenna makes it very clear like that guy was a piece of shit and I wasn't going to watch this go down. And now look at what you have to look forward to. Because she's
Yeah.
been all kind of concerned now that she was so close to being queen, and now she's like, I have nobody, and then she's like, no, this is much better situation, dear. Don't worry, right? So I love
Well,
I love this, bro. Elena is a G, bro. I think she's awesome. I love her grandmother. She's a great fucking character. This woman. She's
she's
one of
only like 40 or 30, probably.
no, she's older than that, bro. She's
No,
a
it's game. Who knows?
great character. She's a great
But
character.
no, she also, still she mentions that she's gonna that other one's gonna be marrying a Targaryen, and it's gonna bring back all the rage from back in the day, right? Like, so it's almost alluding again back to the times of
Yes.
what's it called,
I was
House of Dragon style.
I was gonna bring that up. Let's go through some quotes here, Jay. This is Marjorie to Olenna. I can't believe you're going, leaving me alone here with these people. The time has come, my dear. There's nothing more tedious than a trial, except perhaps these gardens. If I have to take one more leisurely stroll through these gardens, I'll fling myself from the cliffs.
There it is, yeah.
And she mentions here, I wasn't originally meant to marry your grandfather, Luther. He was engaged to my sister, your great aunt Viola. I was to be given to some Targaryen or other. Marrying a Targaryen was all the rage back then. But the
That was
moment
hype, eh?
but the moment I saw my intended with his twitchy little ferret's face and ludicrous silver hair, I knew he wouldn't do. So this is where she gets nasty. So she's like, so the evening before Luther was to propose to my sister, I got lost on my way back from my embroidery lesson and happened upon his chamber.
Dun,
How
dun,
abs-
dun.
how absent-minded of me. The following morning, Luther never made it down the stairs to propose to my sister because the boy couldn't bloody walk. And once he could, and she fucked his brains out apparently. And once he could, the only thing he wanted was what I'd given him the night before. I was good. I was very good. What a
But she
great,
says you are even better. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then she's like, yeah, at the end of that scene, she's like, you don't think I let you marry that beast, do you? She's like, what? I don't understand. She's like, shh, don't you worry yourself about all that. You just do what needs to be done. Great scene.
that's it.
I love her. She's great. I like this whole situation with them. But Olena does not. She the balls on this lady, man. I gotta say, she's awesome.
But it was the rage back in the day. Like it was a cool
Yeah,
thing to get with a
yeah. With
Targaryen. Eh? It's
Targaryen.
like
Then she saw him. She's like, look at this fucking ugly
then I saw his face, and I wasn't a believer anymore.
Oh, no.
I can't believe that's what it was for real.
Yeah. Anyways, over at the wall, Jon Snow and Gren are teaching several recruits, including Locke. By the way, I think I forgot to mention that he's there now. Now, if you recall, Locke is part of that whole situation. The new
Craster?
ruler of the North over there.
Yeah,
Uh,
with the Craster thing,
no,
right?
the one from the Red Wedding, the Tullys and all them.
Oh, okay.
Not the Tullys, the other guy that's got the bastard. The bastard that's torturing what the fuck is his name? The bastard, the last name.
No.
Yeah. So but the last name, not Baratheon. No, it's not Baratheon.
He's a
Anyways,
bastard.
the guy that assisted in the Red Wedding, the guy who's now the Warden of the North, he's the one that sent Locke is the guy that cut off Jamie's fucking hand, and now he's at fucking Castle Black, pretending to be somebody he's not.
It's kind of
Right?
weird, right?
Yeah, that's the fucker that cut off his hand. He's there for a reason. He's there because they sent him there, right? Right. Remember they sent all those guys like out and about, and the other dude going up against our boys from the fucking Reeks family.
The Reeks, yeah.
Right?
Theon's family, right?
Yeah, Theon Greyjoys, the Greyjoys. He's the
Greyjoys. There you go.
bastard is going up against the Greyjoys right now, and this guy fucking measled his way into Castle Black, right? Locke's the dude that cut off Jamie's hand. So
That's why I remember seeing him somewhere, but I just didn't remember from where, right?
Now
Like it
he's
was
at Castle Black. Now he's infiltrating the Night's Watch
North.
right? So very
The
interesting
North.
going on. Yeah. Anyway, so he's trying to teach the several recruits and Locke's one of them. He's one of the new people how to fight against the wildlings. Because now he has spent time with them, so he knows what to do against these guys, how these guys fight.
Yeah.
Alistair Thorne, comes out and gives Jon shit and reminds him that he is a steward, not a ranger. Now, this is the guy that fucking hated him from before, right? He has it out for Jon. He's trying to provoke Jon for an excuse to have him killed. Jon leaves the yard and talks with Locke, who pretends he is from the Stormlands and genuinely wants to protect the realm, which is all bullshit. Janos Slint points out to Thorne that while Jon is well liked, Thorne is not. And when Maester Aemon insists upon an election for a new Lord Commander, Jon is far more likely to succeed over Mormont. He convinces Thorne to likely to succeed Mormont, not over him, to succeed Mormont, who's dead now, right? Thorne to allow Jon to deal with the mutineers in the hope that they will remove him from the problem. So basically, he's trying to encourage Jon to go against the guys that took over Caster's Creep now, hoping that he gets killed, and then therefore his problem is solved. And
solved.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. Again, very interesting stuff building. I gotta say, this season stuff with him being back at Castle Black. This is why I dislike the Wildling stuff. The Jon Wildling arc in season 3, not my favorite, as I've told you previously. This is much better stuff, the Castle Black stuff. This is where he needs to be, Jon, with the Knights.
Well, if it's anywhere where it's going at the end too and stuff like that, right at the end of this episode, then yeah, it's kind of, it should be interesting.
Yeah,
See,
and I mean,
now that
like,
we get a little taste.
listen, the wildling stuff serves its purpose because obviously he made a connection with them, he learned from them, and now he is teaching these guys. Like, there's a reason. I mean, it makes sense. I don't mind it in the sense like it added what it added to the story, but just as watching those scenes, that storyline and specifically wasn't as interesting. I felt like the Wildling one, but it served its purpose, so I'll give it that. Right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. You like the Wildling story more than I did, though. I recall. I think
Well, it
you
was interesting what they were doing,
yeah.
and then there was a lot more stuff going on. Like they had more than just the wildling. It was the wildlings for a reason because it was more than just like one type of person or character or thing or whatever
Right.
working together, right? That whole, that they had those giants, they had everything going there, right?
Mhm.
So I like that part of it. That's why I'm trying to see where that, if that ever comes back again. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it will. And then we cut back over to Jamie visits Cersei in a quick scene here, and she's kind
bitch.
of she's kind of disgusted with him in this moment, saying like, "How dare he take Tyrion's side?" Because he goes there to let her
But
know. And
she's setting up. She's setting something up for herself. You do. She's not doing this because she's pissed off because of whatever, bro. Because she got raped. She still took it, whatever. Not for anything. We're not going there again. But yeah, but she's not pissed off for that same reason. She's pissed off because now she's using it to her advantage.
Mhm.
That's what I feel. Because she's a little fucking manipulative bitch.
She's an evil woman. Yes, I agree with you there. She is, and like, here's a
I just
here's
don't. Now I'm not even liking her face. Like I like it on the IMDb, but I don't like that one now that I picture it in my head.
she can really do that type of like frown, like fucking like yeah, like
She's
look.
got a resting bitch face.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Here's a quote from the scene, just to like further our point, guys. This is where she's like giving Jamie shit. Why did Caitlin Stark set you free? He's like, what? He's like, I've been wondering for months, ever since that great cow brought you back to the capital. As she's talking about Brienne.
Yeah.
Why did she set you free? You know
Cow.
why. She'd hope I send her daughters back to her. And then they go on and on and on. And they get into basically like her accusing him of siding with Tyrion and calling him a beast or like basically calling him a creature. Sorry, she calls him a creature in this scene.
Yeah.
Just like she just disgusted at Jamie once again by saying like, how dare you side with him? And you're right. She's got it stuck in her head that she just wants to place the blame somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think actually believes that it's him, but you're right. She's just fucking evil, and she's just like
The
fuck.
sad part is she's also forgetting she has another fucking son too.
Mm-hmm.
I think she like she she doesn't really even talk about it. Like I mean, unless somebody else brings him up, she doesn't bring him up at all. All she talks about is Joffrey. Joffrey this, Joffrey that. Fuck.
Which he's such a piece of shit, right?
Yeah. He looked good in that scene in the opening, right? Where it was just frozen.
Speaking of some interesting scenes, how about this next one where Marjorie visits the new king Tommen in the middle of the night? What do you think of this?
Somebody had a wet dream. He thought he
Yeah,
was having a wet
that's
dream, eh?
literally the note that I wrote down. I said,
Straight up. I don't know how we were talking about that the other day.
this is my note word for word. This guy most likely had a wet dream after that one. She starts in early with this kid's seduction. That's what I wrote.
Dude, now is that considered like some sort of like
Wrong. She's
wrong?
very
Yeah,
young, but I
because I
mean,
mean, like if she's not, I mean, she's probably still underage too, right? So I mean, they're both probably under 18 if you think about it. Oh
the
my
lines that she
God.
busts out to him, though, man, this guy probably was hard as a rock for that night. So,
And
just
then
so
she
so
looks like she leans in like she's gonna kiss him too, but she
hot.
gives him one on the forehead.
So
Like he didn't know what to do.
Marjorie comes in the middle of the night to go visit Tommen. And that night she enters his chambers, slipping past the Kingsguard, and she puts in his mind the idea that one day she will be his, and they might as well learn to like each other. She compliments him on his cat and
Bro,
kindness.
that's, you know what, and he's like,
Like that's
Joffrey said he was gonna eat him because
yeah,
like whatever.
yeah.
So, dude,
Joffrey
it's
threatened to
almost like a in your window, like eating
yeah,
pussy. It threw
yeah.
me right off, bro. It
The
was
cat
like,
walks up,
yes,
oh, nice cat. And he's like, oh, that's Sir Ponce. Or
yeah,
that's my cat. Joffrey threatened to skin him alive and make him eat it, essentially.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, like eating pussy,
oh boy.
dude. That's what went to my head. Sorry, but
Uh
it's like, where is this the first time I ever seen a cat in this thing? I think,
she
or no, then we see him once before.
yeah, she promises to visit again, and Tommen falls asleep smiling.
Oh,
I don't
he
know,
was
man.
loving that one, eh? If his
Yeah,
mom would have walked in
I
there, that would have been.
I would have loved that one. I'd be like, why go? Stay here.
I got room for two.
Anyways, next scene in the chambers of the Kingsguard, Jamie asks Brienne. Uh, Jamie tasks Brienne with finding Sansa. Now, this is where the name of the episode comes from. This is a
It was great. Yeah,
great fucking scene. Yeah, and again, he's awesome.
just the visuals, like the
Yeah,
looks at each other and
yeah.
stuff like that, right?
He urges her to find and keep the girl safe from those who would hand her over to Cersei, and provides her with a horse, supplies, and a freshly forged suit of armor. Jamie then gives her with the sword that his father gave him, saying that it's Valyrian steel and it's forged from Ned Stark's sword, and thus should be used to defend Ned
The
Stark's
North,
daughters. So fucking awesome. Like the way
wasn't
that
it?
he, like that is such a cool fucking I like the way of thinking on his part. Like I was like, that's awesome.
Because he knew what's his name. 'Cause he said he promised they promised Stark to bring the kid, yeah, the kid
Yeah.
back, right? So the thing was is that I liked it because he knows that where Cersei's going and what she's trying to do. So he's hoping Brienne will get there first.
And not only that, he has trust in Brienne. He loves Brienne. I think love
Oh,
for
I
Brienne.
think he's in love with her for
Yeah.
sure. Not and he loves her as a sister even more, like a
And
real sister.
you can tell in this scene that that's the case, right? At the
Yeah,
end of it, that you're real. And
not as kissing sister.
not
Yeah,
only that, like he knows it's the right thing to do, and he's going against Cersei here. Like he's like, you know what I mean? Like,
very much.
yeah. So I again, good on him, but like,
He just raped Cersei the other fucking episode. Like seriously, come on. How do we? And then we look at him like with like, oh, what a nice guy,
the
right?
other great part about this scene is he insists that she take Podrick with her as a squire, both as a reward for the boy's service in Tyrion and to keep him safe from those who would seek to use him against his former master. Now, again, this is the
Another
outcome of
thing,
what happened from him speaking with Tyrion clearly. And he does right by several fucking people in this scene. Like
very
just
much.
laying all this shit out. This is this is the best thing I think anybody has done for anybody this season so far right now.
Well, he's kind of set like sort of like three different
Oh,
paths.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Before departing, though, he asked her what she's going to name the sword. She says Oathkeeper, because going back all the way back to what her oath was to Catelyn, same thing. She has oaths that she tends on keeping. Like this is a very noble woman. She's one of the only female knights we've seen on this show. Fucking awesome. And she
Well, and
vows to find Sansa for the sake of Jamie and Lady Catelyn Stark.
well, in a way too. Even Jamie's kind of got keeping a sort of weird oath in the sense of keeping Brienne safe,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because I mean, he even gave her an awesome suit to fight with, man. Like the way he just played that whole scene out was just great, man.
This is
Not only
probably
with the sword.
this is probably my favorite scene of the episode. This scene, but yeah, what an awesome name that she names it, Oathkeeper. I really
Oh
like.
yeah, I can't wait to see her fucking go at it, man.
Yeah, she's gonna have to. I love that Podrick.
Oh, dude, I don't think she's going anywhere really as far for a while.
I hate to see the Podrick Tyrion love the relationship here like end, but love for each other. But like, I like that he's with Brienne.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, and he's gonna be safe with her too, man. She don't
absolutely.
fuck around.
No, no. It was a great scene though when he calls her sir instead of lady. He's like, "Oh, I mean my lady." Like she's like, because she is like a
It's
knight.
hard, bro. Yeah,
Used to saying sir for that, right? I really liked that moment.
yeah.
Oh boy, but
She's not like she's got like lustrous hair, and
he's awesome though.
she's a very good character, a
What I
very good
wrote though.
person.
This is what I wrote. Two
What he
sides of
wrote.
this is the side I like.
Hmm.
But, like really, like I don't know. Like I'm like, how can Jamie be so vile and honorable at the same fucking time? That's what I wrote here. I'm like, how could you have it both ways? Like, but he
Yeah.
does, like, right? So it's interesting, man. And also, Podrick came with Tyrion's axe from the Blackwater fight. He was given that by Bronn, which is fucking awesome. Again, if you remember, he killed somebody with that axe during the Blackwater fight. That's when Tyrion was forced to, throw down in that battle, right?
And then Bronn goes, "What are you gonna do? Waiting for a kiss?" Like, cause he was just standing there, like instead of grabbing her. What are you waiting for a kiss?
grab her shit. Yeah. But again, we're great acting on the guy who plays Jamie.
Yeah,
The look in his the looks that they exchange with one another, like you said, that love,
stares.
it's there.
Yeah,
Yeah, like without words. Like you don't even need word. Like it's you can tell like the
it
way
was
that
almost like he wanted to say "I love you" in in that scene, almost there, right? Like, or
doesn't has love for her though. He respects her.
but
You know what I
that's
mean?
the look that he had. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
like
he doesn't say it because he's got the respect too as well.
he fucking respects this woman. Like, you know what I mean? And like again, that is a big deal because she is a woman knight and like, you
And
know,
look, dude, she took him back home, bro.
I I know, but like that's what I mean. Like it started off with him giving her shit and busting her balls along the whole journey. And then somewhere along the line they found a mutual respect for one another and
Bathtub.
they were well that especially because he was vulnerable with her in that moment because that's when he got his hand cut off, right?
Yeah.
So like again, these guys have shared so much up to this point along their journey, like that Cersei, that's why you could tell she's jealous. She'll never understand what they experience. You know what I mean? She'll
Oh,
never.
his story is gonna be a big one for the history books in their world.
And he mentions that because if you remember, there's that other scene when he looked in the books and he had barely anything there. He's the Kingslayer, right? So
Yeah,
he
really.
in his mind he wants to be a better person, right? Like he really
More of
does.
a legacy too.
Yeah, yeah. But his own path. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
want to be under his father's shadow anymore. You know what I mean? Like
No.
so. Again, I love the character, as you can tell. I
Yeah.
do. I think he's a great character, but like he's a vile fucking human being too at the same time. So, anyways, moving on. Yeah,
That
great.
whole family's kind of weird.
Yeah, great scene. Great scene. Anyways, then we back over to the wall there. Sam is worried about Gilly's safety in Mole's town with the wildlings loose. Ever since Sam told him that his younger brother Bran Stark told John was alive and going beyond the wall, he has wanted to go and find them. When Sam and John think that Bran must have found shelter at Craster's Keep, they are interrupted by Locke. Locke brings John to Thorne, who sanctions his mission to Craster's Keep, but tells John that he must secure volunteers rather than have the men ordered along with him, basically falling into what he wanted for that to happen anyways, right? Like into his trap, essentially. He insists that not only must the mutineers be dealt with at Castle Black, but Lord Commander Mormont deserves justice. Much to Thorne and Slint's surprise, Gren, Edison, Toled, and a group of other men join John in his mission, including Locke. And John gives a hell of a fucking speech, man. Does John give the best speeches in Game of Thrones? I think so. He rallies the troops, this guy, right? Like, I think this
Used
guy,
to.
yeah, you can tell that he is a well-liked member of the Night's Watch at this point. Well-liked by many, not so much by other people. Obviously, the one guy
He
that
was.
died, right? So.
Yeah, he was able to get. He was able to rally his people, man, to fucking go with him as volunteers
He's moving up the ranks fast. And I think
in people's
because,
eyes.
as you saw already, Jay, Rob didn't have what it takes to be a leader. I think John does, though. He's the one Stark, I think, that can fill that role, and he's a bastard at that. Right?
Bastards. So far that they've done it, they've proved themselves to be badasses, if anything, in this series, right?
Right.
I mean,
Because, like,
even if they're bad, like in a sense, like what's his name?
yeah,
The bastard just means doesn't mean no. That's different. That's inbreeding. That's totally
no,
different than bastard.
no
Yeah,
means bastard. Snow, the
yeah,
last. No, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But that's also like having a wife out of wedlock. That's what it is, right? I mean, having a kid out of wedlock,
Yeah,
right? A boy
exactly.
or
Yeah,
a
and
kid.
from with a different woman, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're
Uh,
married. You know,
yeah,
a lot of those during the wars.
yeah. So there you go. So that's it. John, John's a badass, man. He's moving up the ranks fast, right? I think if you
Badass
can point at
bastard.
anybody, I think if you can point at anybody that's like Ned Stark right now on the show, it'd be him, right? Like in terms of his ideals. I think.
Yeah. Well, he seems to actually take over so many of them so far. He seems to be the only one that kind of reminds me of Ned, in that sense, right? Where he's got that. Well, you know what? I guess Sansa's got a bit of it in her, and so does Arya as well. But I mean, eh, John has that leadership like Ned
Leader.
Stark.
Yeah, he's playing the leader role. Absolutely.
Not like Rob. Rob was like just a little,
Hothead. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going beyond the wall here at Craster's Keep. The mutinous deserters are still entrenched there, indulging themselves on the food stored there and raping Craster's wives. Carl Tanner,
Fuck.
who's one of the Night's Watch guys, drinks wine from the skull of Jor Mormont.
Dude, he does that.
Yeah. This actor who plays this guy, I don't know his fucking name. I didn't bring him up on IMDb. He was recently in that show, The Offer, that Leslie told us about, that I ended up watching. The one about the making of The Godfather. He's in that show. He's a great fucking actor. This guy, he plays some great characters. I've seen him in other shit too, but he's really interesting in this show, and he was really good on The Offer as well.
Right here, this is the photo I wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you could have pulled this one off and did the quote if you really wanted to. Because you have one of these skulls, don't you? Hey,
I didn't see it yet. Hold on.
you could have done this.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he starts talking to it. What's his name? Bern Gorman?
Carl Tanner.
Yeah, but his name in real life is Bern Gorman. Okay. Yeah.
Very good actor. He's good. Basically, then in his scene, he tells Rast to feed the beast. At the same time, one of Craster's wives enters with Craster's last son. And as you know, you guys may have remembered there, they had to basically sacrifice all the sons born of all his wives. And this, I guess they've been burning through them as they've been living there since they've taken over. And the last son is brought out here, and they're basically going to put him out into the woods as a sacrifice, as they do to the White Walkers.
The last one's been born.
Yeah. He's insisting the infant must be given as a gift to the gods. At Carl's orders, Rast leaves the infant on a patch of open ground, then deals with the beast, Ghost, who the mutineers have caged. I guess that's who he was referring to as the beast. Poor Ghost is in here. And whom...
I forgot about him, eh?
Well, a couple of them already died. Two of them already died up to this point.
Yeah.
Two of their them have died. The... not dogs. What the fuck are they called? You know their name.
Wolves. Dire wolves, bro.
Thank you, yeah. Rast taunts him by withholding food and water from the dire wolf. There you go. Suddenly, a snowstorm whips up and the temperature drops, causing the water Rast was taunting Ghost with to freeze.
Yeah, right away. And he's like, I thought it was like freaked out that he didn't see ice that quick. Right? But I mean, it happens.
This was cue for him to leave because the approach of the White Walkers is heading his way, and he flees. So the way this fucking episode ended, we're getting into now, which is pretty fucking crazy. Alludes to a lot, and not a lot is explained. But first, we get a quick scene because the nearby cries of the baby that they bring out to be sacrificed is heard by Bran Stark, who is at Craster's Keep under, he's a prisoner there right now. As you know, they got a hold of him. And him and his companions hear the child's cries, and then he wargs into Summer.
That's a trip. I love how he does that.
And Bran goes to investigate, but Summer falls into a trap just outside Craster's Keep. And I guess Summer's their dog or whatever, right? I think they're wolf or
that's his wolf, Bran's.
Yeah, that's right. I forget all their names. Mira Reed, sensing danger, urges them to move on, but Bran insists on trying to free Ghost and Summer before they can. They are taken prisoner by the mutineers. They basically start to torment Hodor while they're taken prisoner.
Oh, that was bad, eh?
Yeah, and they're taking the
poor Hodor.
Yeah, they're taking the Carl, who asks who they are, and they get silence from them, and he threatens to kill Mira and Jojen. And basically, Jojen is overcome by a seizure in this moment and falls to the floor while Mira begs to be let go so she can help him. Carl does so when Bran reveals his true identity. So they now know that he is Jon Snow's brother. And they know...
Why did he give it out, man? He pussy.
He was worried for his friends, right? And they're all...
But his friend, maybe in that seizure, he was working. Who knows?
Very true. Very true.
We don't know yet, right? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. That goes into probably the next episode.
But... Here, why don't you tell us the last scene here, Jay? I know you have your stuff up there, too. Why are you just explain this last scene to us? Because from there, we cut to the White Walkers. What a fucking crazy scene there, Jay. Why don't you let us know what happens?
Where am I on this last scene here? Because I didn't follow down. I was just waiting to type in some stuff. No,
there's no quotes here, but I was just saying in terms of the setup. What happens here? Do you recall?
Yeah, well, they set that kid into the onto that little. I guess it's like a sacrifice thing where they put him.
It's like an altar. It's like a throw.
It's only on ice.
kind of like a throne or an altar of sorts that they. So basically, the White Walkers bring the baby out, and yeah, they put him on top of a
Yeah, like I
nice altar of some sort. Yeah,
yeah, it was a pretty cool setup. But then you see these guys come out. These guys, you know they're coming, right? Like they're on their way, and you didn't know what was going on. But I don't know how like there was some parts that I had missed in the middle there. But he had just the big White Walker guy comes into the picture. What's his? I don't know what his name is. I've seen him.
no, they haven't said.
Yeah, this is the same guy we've seen. What's his name? The first I think time we
Yeah,
really run into them, right? I
but
don't
he
know if they all look the same yet. That's the thing, right?
but he presses his finger up to the
A
baby's feet.
face, yeah, and by doing that, the eyes turn it's almost like the baby froze instantly,
Yeah, his
right?
eyes turn an icy blue. Essentially, now what we're witnessing here as viewers, do you think this is how they turn people into White Walkers, like pure White Walkers from birth? Is that like their game
Well,
here? Like what's
I feel like what they're doing when they're doing this is that because they're sacrificing it, yeah, okay, whatever, to the gods, blah blah blah. They think that they're the White Walkers that they're sacrificing it to. It's a pretty crazy view of the
yeah,
eyes. Like
are they
it's
trying to
pretty neat.
crossbreed? Like are these stronger if they make them White
I
Walkers?
think, to be honest, I don't know. From me, and like I said, for somebody that hasn't seen it, I feel like they're saving them in a sense by it's almost like by doing that, it's turning them into whatever they are and making them survive, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Right? I feel that
I like that
that's
theory.
what's
I like that
that's what's happening because how do they build their army? Maybe that's the theory that they do to build their army. When somebody's left behind, they help them out by doing that. And
right.
whether it be, we only know it to be
Like
babies so far, right?
right. Like are we to believe and we know for a fact already at this point, given that information, that they've been doing this with many children, right?
Yes.
Like we know that. So we know that
Yes.
much. What do we know? We know that. We know that
Yeah.
there's been many other children that have come from Craster's Keep that they have given over to the White Walkers in order to, sorry, to let them survive out there.
Yeah. They're on
And
the other side of the wall.
right. We also know that the White Walkers can reanimate the dead and make them White Walkers. So that's where I'm like, so
What
are
does it mean reanimate the dead? Like in a sense that
basically we already have seen them make somebody who's dead basically turn into a White Walker themselves and basically become part of the army, as we've seen them do with other Night's Watchmen,
okay, okay. Maybe
right?
yeah, I can't remember that
Well,
so far
there has
so
been
far. Is that when they leave their clothes? Is that when they left their clothes behind and stuff in the snow?
no, because
Like
remember a couple of times, like the time that Sam stabbed one of them with the dragon glass, that was one of their Night's Watchmen that was dead, but was basically turned into like a White Walker of sorts. Like he was maybe not like he was basically
completely?
brought back to life by the White Walkers and became a White Walker.
So
We've
yeah,
already
that's what I mean. It has something to do with that fucking cold too, and surviving the cold of the north, right?
right,
Like they remember they think it's a small little world past the north, right? And they don't know how big
right.
it actually probably is.
Now, another thing that this possibly alludes to, and I guess more will be revealed as we go. I'm not really going past any, like, again, I'm just knowing what comes
Off
next.
of
Yeah, I'm not
this,
spoiled. Yeah, off of what
what
information we
we've
have
seen.
here in this scene. This also shows that the White Walkers could be part human.
Of some sort, yeah, if that's the
Right.
case, right? If I'm thinking the way I'm thinking,
So that
and
means that the
like
person
and
that's creating these things could have been human at one point.
that's what I and to be honest, like they have this thing which I'm starting to think is either their castle or not, because this is the whole part north of the wall, right? They don't even know any of this yet. All they know is they're defending that wall from the north,
Mhm.
right? So they don't know what the fuck is past.
So this isn't said in the show, but upon looking on the notes, the area that they call, I guess, the area where the White Walkers come from, they have listed here in the lands of always winter. So that's kind of interesting. So I mean that's it kind of explains that beyond the wall it is all frozen and nothing else could survive out there, I guess, except for these guys, right? For that
Yeah,
matter. I don't think it's been referred to in the show, but I think this is just this website doing their due diligence and letting you know where they are in this scene. Not that that spoils anything really, but that's I mean makes you really think about a lot of shit at the end of this episode, like what's gonna come. And that's the thing that we get the least of in 4 seasons of this show so far that they keep teasing us with is the White Walker stuff, right?
Yeah,
It's
but there's fucking 4 more seasons after this, 5 more seasons or whatever the fuck it is,
There will
right?
come a time where that comes to a head, though, Jay. I'll spoil that for you. You're gonna see a lot of White Walker shit eventually, but right now, it's not the main focus of the show. It isn't. It is
No,
always
it seems to
background.
be like yeah, the Khaleesi's and the Lannisters seem to be really the biggest parts. The White Walkers are gonna look like they're coming into play somewhere, sometime sooner or
But
later. And I'm still waiting on Greyjoy to see what the fuck can happen with Theon.
we haven't seen him in 2 episodes now. Yeah, it's very true. But isn't it interesting that the rest of most of this world of Westeros, they do not believe that these things exist. Now, if they knew that they fucking existed, do you not think that that would be everybody's main fucking focus? Not fighting it out with one another. Not it would be fucking killing these things that are coming for them, right?
You would think if they knew anything what was going on.
Because everything that was mentioned in this episode by Tywin or the other episode when he mentions about all the shit that they have coming towards them, I think it was the last one, the Oberyn.
But Craster never mentioned anything. He just mentioned about giving up the kids. They never meant sacrifice, but they never really
They
mentioned
never said it
alluded
was
to
White
who.
Walkers, though. Yeah, exactly. They never said it was White
He
Walkers.
never, yeah, and he's never actually said it to anybody before all
nor
that, before he was
nor did
dead.
anybody ever see them except for John. John's the only one that saw what was out in those woods that came back to tell
That
about
day,
it,
yeah.
right? And at that point, John and Sam, those are like the only couple people, and I think his Lord Commander are the only fucking people that saw any White Walker type of activity.
Well, that's what I mean. And John still wants to go north of the wall. So
Right.
who's got the balls, man, in that family? Like in that, out of all of them, he
So,
would have, fuck.
so
Poor
very,
guy wasn't around when Joffrey did that shit to his family. Otherwise, he would have had a fucking
I
something to
just
say.
I think it's funny though that, like I said previously, Tywin had mentioned that to Oberyn was that he everything that was going on. He mentions Daenerys, he mentions the Greyjoys, he mentions the Wildlings. No one mentions the fact that because no one believes that. Tyrion doesn't believe, even the smartest people on the show, they're like, that's a myth. It's like when people today, they're like, oh yeah, aliens, or it's the same shit, right? Like they're like
Yeah.
White Walkers, yeah, okay, whatever, right? In a fucking land where magic exists, they're like, nah.
Nah, it can't be,
There's
right? Like,
dragons, there's dragons, there's giants. They're like, White Walkers, nah. It's like,
that can't be.
right? It's ridiculous to me. I'm like, how can you believe it and see all these other things and fucking just dismiss the White Walkers, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, and then they also they're fucking. People don't realize that they look huge. First of all, they
Right.
look massive. They also have these huge ass horses that are like frozen too, which
Yeah.
is another totally different ballgame. Who knows what kind of
Yeah.
what they can do? I mean, if they can just touch you to freeze you, bro.
Yeah. So
If
we
they
got
can kill you and then bring you back to life and have you all as them, then who's more powerful? I guess the dragons still because they can melt things.
we'll see. We'll see. Oh man, it's so hard for me.
That's why it's weird. Because now, look, if I think of House of Dragons, I'm like, okay, all the dragons got killed, but was it because of the cold maybe that took over at one point and
I,
fucked up the dragons? I
I,
don't know where that's going either. Like it's kind of mixing in. I don't know where it's gonna mix.
we're gonna have to move on, Jay. I keep thinking on this on your own time. I can't dance around this shit anymore, else I'm gonna spoil something.
I know you are.
You're really dancing around crazy territory right now, where you're saying a lot of things I can make connections to, and I really don't. So I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. All right. So that's gonna do
Put
it
a
for this
pin in
episode.
that one. Yeah.
What a great ending. This was a great episode. Really great, man. Really great. So yeah, good stuff. And we'll think on that, guys. For all you guys that already know out there, shh, don't spoil it for Jay, all right? Because there's some crazy shit that's gonna happen, Jay, as we move along here. What's episode 5, Jay? Do you have that information in front of you? What's the next episode here?
Let's see what the next episode is gonna be for us. Will be. Uh, where am I? Hold on, I got it for you. Just because I went through a bunch of pictures, so next episode will be episode 5, first of his name.
There you go. So that'll be season 4, episode 5, first of his name. Make sure you're subscribed, guys. We'll see you guys next week. It's always Thursdays at 8 p.m. As long as we get these out in time, you can always expect them to drop on those at that date and time here on the Late Night Chat Network. Jay, thanks as always. Always a fun time to talk about these
You.
episodes. And stay tuned, guys. Episode 5. Later.
Peace out.